Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus signs. Welcome to your tarot reading here at the Intuitive Teacup. Please come into this reading with an open heart and an open mind, a desire to maybe learn something and better yourself, better your situation. Do remember you are accountable and responsible for all your own actions and decisions, so always best to trust your own intuition above all else. Don't give up your agency to a tarot card reader, a tarot reading, etc. All right, that being said, we're going to try and have some fun, or at least get you some helpful, inspiring messages. Let's set the intention now. Get my Capricorns watching out there, Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus. Let's get them some helpful, inspiring, empowering messages for wherever they are currently at on their spiritual path. All right, Cap, let's do it. I hope you guys are doing well. Eclipse season, am I right? Whew. So right in the center of your spread, you have the Magician. So that is a card about manifestation, knowing that you have what is needed to get by. It might not always be what you want, but it's what you need. Something about like the word survival. There's something kind of like adversity through tough times and being able to save. And I actually think Capricorns are really good at not just penny pinching in terms of the word, in terms of like the sense of like, nickel and diming, like being really good with money. Like, yes, of course that applies because you're Capricorn, but also it's like being able to sustain through challenge. It's like your dedication and devotion. When times get tough, you guys don't like throw your hands up in the air and like abandon ship. It's very much like, okay, here we go. Like roll up my sleeves and refocus. Like it's that kind of energy. And I mean, you're going to be fine, whatever that is. And I know it's easy for me to say, I don't mean to minimize what you're going through. But the Magician reminds you in terms of if you're trying to manifestation or bring something into your life, bring something into your orbit, you have all the tools on your table, right? So there's something about I always kind of see the Magician as like a chef. Like it's symbolically, of course, I don't mean this literally for most of you anyway, but there's something about like you have all the ingredients there, but you may have, made your cupcakes and it's not quite to your liking, like it's not quite to your taste, or it came out and the texture is a little bit funny. So again, it's not about like abandon ship, all is lost, throw it out. Like it's like we just kind of have to find some sort of compromise or some sort of solution, or we can go at it again in a slightly different way. Like to me, it's very much like mixing up the ingredients. I hope these metaphors are applying in some way. So in your recent past, you have the Five of Wands. All right. So again, this is talking about, I have to say, your energy here is badass, like rock star energy, because it is saying any five does involve, agents of change and chaos. That is a five in tarot. Here you have wands, so it's requiring either more effort or different strategy from you. With wands, sometimes it can involve tempers and kind of a feisty, fiery energy. Sometimes it has to do with our passion. That can be fire. But here it's like you are presenting as calm, cool, and collected. So even though the Five of Wands indicates, all right, the temperature's heating up, like it's getting a little bit more stressful, you are not the victim of this stress, or maybe that's not the best way of phrasing it. You're showing up in a very mature, emotionally intelligent way, because ultimately it's like, I think the only way towards the end is like through this, whatever it is. So it's like there's something to do with like a gracefulness. That's very, again, like eclipse season, very like Aries, Libra energy. Like we have to move forward. We have to, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and march on. We have to soldier on. That's the Aries energy. But it doesn't have to be with like this feisty kind of fiery battle of the wills energy, because there could be something about teammates or competition coming through here, or people you're having to collab with that you don't necessarily want to or like them, but it is what it is. You're showing up like very gracefully, bringing like the Libra energy of balance and harmony, and like we're going to get through this, but it doesn't mean we have to rush the process or get stressed out doing it. We just have to show up and do the work. And for some of you, it's like you're just trying to get different results, and with that, okay, we have to go back to the drawing board. And I think you're dealing with people who are very emotionally triggered right now, and you seem to be the saving grace of this either team or this project, or maybe it's in your relationship where you're like, stressing out about this isn't going to help us. There's something very like your mindset is sort of really helping the team drive the ship this week, because you're showing up in a really like lovely way. I'm not phrasing that super eloquently, but that's all right. So then in the future, you have the Four of Cups. So I kind of see this as like the ultimate goal. You're trying to get people to like raise their vibration and see the glass as half full. For a lot of you, there's something to do with the timeline here, like a setback of a deadline or a timeline. It's like you're not making the mark. And I'm not saying like it's your fault by any means. What I actually am trying to extrapolate from that is like your ability to overcome is just really, again, like rock star energy this week. And I don't know if you're feeling that way now, but I think the universe is telling you through this reading, like, the minute you change your perspective on this is the minute things start to like take off again and progress starts to sort of reinvigorate. You know, we are going through Mercury retrograde, and the Magician ultimately is a Mercury card. So yeah, there's a lot of R's, right? There's a lot of revisiting. There's a lot of revamping. There's a lot of reinvigorating or redesigning or recreating, like restructuring. Something about that is going on, and you are not rushing the process. You're taking it at like a slow pace because ultimately you don't want to have to repeat the same mistakes that were already made and have to fix them again. So it's almost like taking advantage of this time to go back to the drawing board and really put the time and effort into it again in a new way. Because I don't think it's that you rushed something prior, although maybe some of you did, but you seem to be working with someone who's very like sad sack energy, just like kind of lost in their feelings. And I almost see you as this little like silly picture, like this goose holding the umbrella. You're the one who's like, it's going to be okay. Like, we got this. It's almost like you're having to lean into like the more maternal side of your personality, whether you're male or female or whatever you identify with, in partnerships, right? For my Capricorn rising, you sort of take on the role as the Cancerian, like the mama bear energy, like the protector. So in some ways, it's like whatever dynamic this is, you're almost having to take time out from, it's like you're trying to move full steam ahead, not rush the process, but you're just, you're trying to keep going. You just want to keep the momentum going, right? You want to keep making progress. You have to stop and take time out to almost counsel the people who are lost in their emotions or lost in their grief. And I think for some of you, you're a little bit annoyed by it because at first you're like, this is such a waste of time. Like, just like get it together, like wipe your tears. We got to do this. Like, it's not that you're being insensitive, because I don't think you're relaying that, but in your head, you're just like, oh my God, like I'm just surrounded by people who are just like emotional, and like it's clouding their judgment. It's getting in the way of the goal that we're trying to accomplish. You're coming through almost as like the savior. And here's the thing, I get it. Like, I get your frustration because you're dealing with someone who's just like, woe is me. There's a reason why the universe has chosen you to step up into being a little bit more nurturing and maternal like this week, because there's something valuable you're going to gain out of it. We just don't know what that is yet. Or maybe you do, but so what are you thinking? The High Priestess. So you're thinking a lot, but you're not saying anything. Honestly, this feels very like thinking through a game plan or a strategy. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. I'm wanting to say like behind the curtains. For some of you, if you are giving a project or a presentation or needing to address a group of people, you're definitely doing a lot I'm hearing the word secluded. You're doing a lot behind the scenes in order to prepare for this and really like stick the landing. And for some of you, I can just sort of sense that you're like, I have this deadline and like, I have no idea. Like, there's almost this element of, I have to write a research paper on something I know nothing about. And so what's really cool though is like your energy is showing me is like you're stepping up to the challenge. Like, I'm not saying there isn't fear attached to it. There is some fear, but you're not letting the fear win. It's absolutely incredible energy. All right. So then what are you feeling? The Queen of Cups. Yeah. So again, this is that like Cancerian maternal, like wipe away your tears. Let me give you a snack and tuck you in at night type of energy. Now, maybe this is something your kid is going through. For some of you, if you are parents, that is certainly showing up as you needing to step up into like, mommy, daddy, whatever role. Others of you, though, like, in fact, the main story here, though, is that you're needing to step up into the role as nurturer for people who it's not your responsibility to nurture them, but I think you're doing it out of the kindness of your heart. Because ultimately, this isn't something that you can achieve individually or alone. I feel like I give you this message all the time. It feels like you are being forced to work with people who it's just the circumstance. It's the people on your team at work or however that applies in your life. Maybe it's siblings, or maybe you're having to work with family on some sort of project. it's not your responsibility to like amp them up and be their cheerleader. I think a lot of you are like, why aren't they able to do that for themselves? But I don't know, maybe the universe is offering you a lesson in practicing, not that you're not compassionate, but do you know what I mean? Like more compassion, or being a little bit more in tune with the emotions and the feeling nature. Something about that is actually very important this week. So don't brush that off as like oh, that's not important message, because it actually really is. And with the Magician, there's something you're starting to see and understand and perceive in a new way that, this sounds so like weird, but I almost wanted to say like the emotions are actually helping us. And I get that that's very contradictory, because right here you're just like, you're like this angry goose. You're just like, why am I like holding this umbrella? This person is such a sad sack. Like they're slowing the process down. But because it's the ultimate goal, this may actually have to do with settling an argument with someone that you do love or you do support, but it is requiring you to take a step back from work and be more present in, again, like the feeling nature. Because you are feeling the feels. I mean, to be honest, the Queen of Cups is an excellent card to show up in the feeling sector. If it shows up in your mental sector, I'm like, okay, you're being clouded by your emotions. You're not. You do have two very strong cards of Cancerian energy, though, so you might be dealing with someone who has strong Cancer in their chart. Yeah, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. You're feeling a lot of things. I think some of you, there's a message being relayed of having grown up like without sort of that emotional consistency or emotional comfort in the home. So you may have been raised to be very mature and very responsible at like a young age. That would not be unusual for Capricorn. I feel like I read that a lot about Capricorns. Not that I'm saying that's everyone's story, but again, like, you know. So with that, there might be something a little bit foreign to you and things that you just do instinctively and naturally, and it's easy for you. You're dealing with people where that's actually a little bit more of a challenge for them. And that's why the universe brought you together, right? Because ultimately both of you need to grow and learn something about sort of the opposite, or what you both bring to the table. It's different, but neither is better than the other. And I think that's what it is. Like, I'm going to say it, Capricorn, you're not going to like this, but there's a little bit of ego involved in terms of like what you view as a necessary skill to complete this project. You're sort of viewing it as like, this is only what matters. Like, we just need to focus on this and it'll get done. But what you're not realizing is that there is something that this person contributes or brings to the table that is sort of a weakness in you. It's like a muscle that you haven't really worked out. And so like, this is karmic, whatever it is, whether it's romantic or not. It's like, this is about learning via the other person, and you guys are both challenging each other. Because there may have been a confrontation where you actually did vocalize something. Okay, I think that's what it is. You may have actually vocalized something that was a little bit edgy or a little bit lacking patience, or, you know, it may have been a little bit sassy or laced with a little bit of like, what is the word for it? Not bitterness, but there's a really good word for what I'm trying to say. Give me a second. Passive aggressive. Thank you, Spirit. You may have said something like, well, you know, I wish we could all just sit down on, you know, in our chairs all day and not do work and not be productive. But, you know, some of us have real jobs. Like, it almost has like and that actually sounds a little more aggressive than I think you were. But that's, I think, why the High Priestess is coming through, is there might be a period of silence because you guys have to reconcile or work through some sort of conversation where maybe things did get a little bit haughty or a little bit fiery, you know, tempers. And now this Five of Wands with like, there's strategy and how do we fix this? How do we come back together? Because I'm not saying anybody was fully in the right or the wrong. It takes two to tango. So that's what I mean. It's like, you may be viewing this as like, well, if they had only just like shown up in a better mood, we wouldn't have gotten into this fight. But again, like, you still have to take accountability for how you responded to their energy. Like, you can always choose the higher road. And sometimes it's hard to do that and just flat out. This isn't about making you feel guilt or shame. This is like, sometimes you're not meant to take the higher road so that you can actually have like an impactful moment in your life where there's there's an impact. There's like a ricochet of like, oh, I think I did misstep, or I did misspeak. And now it's like, we have a problem here and we have to fix it in order to get back on track. Like, that is healthy. That is good. That is natural. So like, view this challenge as an opportunity, not as like an annoyance. Like, oh, I have to go fix this. I have to go offer like a half-hearted apology because this person's like complaining to HR and blah, blah, blah. It's more than that. It's deeper than that. There's something that is helpful to you here. All right, so yeah, because you're a little bit prickly. That's what I just heard. You're being a little prickly this week, Capricorn. And here's the thing, Cap, that doesn't surprise me. I would say this to you and to Cancer and to Libra, because you're all cardinal signs, and we have this friggin' lunar eclipse happening in Libra. I'm sorry, not Libra, Aries. And Aries is ruled by Mars. It's the planet of war. It's the planet of agitation and anger and energy and passion. But the signs that are naturally squared by Aries, aka you, Cancer, and Libra opposes it, sometimes anger and frustration is not channeled in the highest way. That in itself will always be an opportunity of learning for Capricorn, as well as sort of the separation and like the independence, right? That can be Mars energy versus the Venus, where it's like, maybe I do need to be a little bit softer. Maybe I need to be a better team player. Maybe I do need to collaborate better or be more sensitive. That like self versus the other, both you and Cancers, right? And you have Cancer going on here. That can sometimes be like a, ooh, did I overdo it? Did I misstep? Because that Mars energy can be a little bit challenging sometimes. And again, everybody has different birth charts. I don't want to make assumptions for all my Capricorns out there, but I think that's important to note that like, yeah, the temper stuff in Aries, we're all getting kind of hot under the collar and hot and bothered, and like, how we use that internal energy to move forward in a healthy, productive way versus where do we lose our shit and like go off on someone where they actually become the victim of our rage. I think there's a little bit of like, ooh, yeah, we got to go back to the drawing board here. Like, this is good. This is healthy. This is productive. I mean, tarot ultimately is about being like self-aware and being like, oh yeah, maybe I did F up, and okay, cool. Now that I know that I did, I can fix it. Like, that's taking that Mars energy back. That's that taking your power back and moving forward to make something right and bring it back into balance, right? The Aries Libra stuff. So the immediate help available to you is Ten of Swords. So here's the thing with these two cards. I think a lot of you are already feeling some sort of shame or guilt or wishing you could have acted or done something differently. And here's the thing, maybe some of you didn't act at all, and that's what got you in trouble. Maybe your partner came home at the end of the day and had a really shitty day at work and was holding back tears, and you were just like, yeah, I had a rough day too, and you went upstairs and didn't, like, they needed to be coddled a little bit, and you just, maybe you weren't capable of doing that. I actually think that's what this is even though you may view it as unnecessary or, I don't know, like the catharsis of emotional release, you seem to be very adverse to that this week, but you're not realizing there's something very healing about that emotional release, about the catharsis of not holding it internal, because it's like then it's like, I don't know, it's almost like keeping poison in your body. So you're dealing with someone who actually has the ability to emote and probably does it regularly. And something about that is irritating you this week or becoming annoying, and either you completely dismiss it or ignore it, or again, it gets a little sassy, it gets a little fiery. You have the King and Queen of Cups, though, so this says to me this is a very strong relationship. There's a lot that you guys have in common, but the things that you don't, obviously, are the things that challenge you most, and this is an opportunity to learn and practice better communication and practice, for both of you, better emotional intelligence. For them, maybe it is about, not being so soft and sensitive and vulnerable all the time, being, needing more of that earthy energy of like, all right, we got to pick ourselves up and keep going, right? Like, we can't always take time to just like to grieve without purpose. Like, there needs to be sort of an end goal there, right? That's like the earthy stuff being introduced. For you, it's like, yeah, but it's absolutely essential to like allow our body to grieve and release that, or whatever it is, tears, something like that. The Ten of Swords is like, we've reached a point that it can no longer be ignored. We've gained new insight and information through some sort of partnership, that it actually really is changing us as an individual. And we have to remember that's coming through as the help. That's coming through as the immediate help available to you, is the recognition of, oh, like some perception or thought that I've been operating on, holding it to be true. I'm actually starting to get the carpet pulled out from under me because this person lives their life in a completely different way. And like, again, there's like an ego thing. Like the Mars stuff is, maybe they're not wrong. Like, and I'm not saying you're quote unquote wrong, but I think again, like that balance, you guys have to meet each other in the middle, because whoever this is, love them, hate them, or something in between, the universe is orchestrating this for you guys to collaborate together, because there's something you both will take away from this. I can tell Mercury's in retrograde because I am tripping over my words. Like my sentences are like being inverted. I'm the victim of a Mercury retrograde, so bear with me. So the action or advice card. So help available that maybe it takes a little bit of extra motivation to get to it, but help available is the Two of Swords. Yeah, this is being very closed off or shut off to someone else's perspective or idea. Any two is about collaboration, and again, this is a two that has Mars energy attached to it. It's a Mars and Aries card. So putting energy and action, it does have to do with like a shared goal. It's like these birds want to come together and speak the same language. Oh my gosh, I just realized for some of you, you're dealing with someone who literally doesn't speak your language. There may be some connection at work, or you got put on some business call and you're having to deal with someone who literally doesn't speak English. If it doesn't have to do with like the earth water stuff, which don't get me wrong, earth and water are very compatible. It's just you guys are both, this week anyway, doing it in the extremes. Like you're doing earth really hardcore, and this person is like drowning in the watery emotions. That's what I mean. Like it's not that those two aren't compatible, just to be clear. Especially Cancerian, like that's your seventh house. That's like your opposites attract for my Capricorn risings. Anyway, with Two of Swords, it's like, oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at this as Two of Wands. It is Two of Swords, but it doesn't matter because the message is the same. There needs to be better communication between these two people. And for some of you, it's almost like, in metaphor, you have to study up on this person's language in order to be able to better respond to their questions and almost like their being. Like look at okay, I know some of you are not dealing with a foreigner or someone who speaks a foreign language, but that's an excellent metaphor for what is going on here. If you're dealing with someone who speaks fluent emotions but has trouble doing like the Saturnian, we got to be mature and responsible and, put our emotions aside and power through. Don't get me wrong, that's a skill. There's a time and a place for that. Absolutely, Capricorn. Like you've been operating on that mentality probably your whole life, right? And some of you have been able to integrate the emotional stuff too, and you're crushing it. If that's you, awesome, good job. Others of you, this is highlighting a chapter in your life where you're not taking enough time to incorporate the emotions and the feelings and the creativity and the intuition, all that watery stuff, the faith, the spirituality. There's a reason why you guys are being asked to collaborate by some sort of higher power, and it is ultimately to get you to learn from it. I think this is especially if you've been in a period of silence or silent treatment from your partner. I do think you're probably going to be the one to open up the floodgates, so to say, or open up the conversation to initiate some sort of conversation. That can also be challenging too for both you and Cancer energy, right? Because Libra is the cardinal air sign, the initiator of conversation, right? So there's challenges here. I don't know what to tell you. There's challenges here this week, but Four of Wands, you're going to fix it. You're going to be dancing on the rooftop together before you know it. There is going to be some sort of achievement or accomplishment. For some of you, again, it's a collaborator at work. You're going to be able to work with them again and restore the team dynamic. And then whatever it is you had to go back to the drawing board and revisit or reassess and re-examine and redo, you're going to get better results this time. But you're going to have to push pause on your very strong work ethic, because you're going to have to cater to someone sort of, I'm just going to say like an emotional crisis or an emotional meltdown. You have to step in and be someone's rock. And I mean, that in itself is such a Capricornian message, like be the rock, right? The earth to someone else's like, watery stuff. Others of you, this is just a challenge in some sort of romantic relationship. And I don't see divorce here. Maybe there was separation. If you guys were dating, maybe you guys took a break, or maybe you went on a couple dates and then it got weird and now it's been like silent for a bit. I think you're going to text them again. I think you're going to make it right. But some of you, again, there's ego involved here. There's a stubbornness to admit fault. And again, we said earlier, it takes two to tango. No one here is completely in the right or the wrong. You both participated in this, and you both need to be humble and willing to accept some sort of fault, just simply for the purpose of, okay, well, now that I know, I can react differently in the future. It's power. It's empowerment. This is miracles. You're being asked to pay extra close attention to all the big and small miracles that have already occurred in your life, and also those that are currently occurring and are still to come. Miracles surround you. Be on the lookout for them. All right, Cap, thanks for joining me today. Please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you soon for more tarot.